Hello, my dear friends. This is Paul Sandhu. I'm out here today on a beautiful, beautiful sunny day. And as you can see, just a gorgeous, lovely day. That little lake is behind me underneath. I don't know if you can see, it's quite a steep drop there. So I better stay by this railing here. Okay, anyhow. So as I'm out and about, looking at God's creation, I always think about the history of creation as to, what happened, why it happened. We understand that evil came, how it came, when it came, why it came. All these are questions that are actually, there's only one place in this entire world where we find those answers, and that's in the Bible. Now, most people, they'll say no, but that's okay. Let everybody believe what they want to believe. That's what I believe, okay? That I have found those answers. Now, one of these answers is about the story of Satan. And as I've been covering in my history videos that I've been doing on my Zoom calls on the weekends, we've been studying the book of Genesis, and we just had 2 sessions just on the first 2 verses of Scripture alone on, verse 1 and verse 2. And it's just so much information in there, because that covers a period of time of some possibly millions and billions of years, so you can't just do it in a few moments. So basically the analysis we did was that between Genesis chapter 1 and verse 2, there are at least 3 ages of time. One is, of course, the beginning age, which you could call is the age of God. That is the age of the Creator. Now, of course, all these ages are the ages of the Creator, because he has created all things for himself and to serve his purposes, as we are told in the Bible. But the other subsequent ages that have come from then until now, after the beginning of creation, which begins with this place called heaven, which is the city of God, okay? It's the city of God, and then, just a second, there you go. It's the city of God from which God rules and reigns. The creation begins with the creation of the city of heaven. And after that, he created some inhabitants in heaven, intelligent beings, and other, I'm sure, beasts as well. But one thing I would like to say is that all of God's creation may have some intelligence in it in various, varying degrees. And Jesus said, even the stones can cry out, or the trees can clap their hands. So in that respect, every living thing, every created thing has some sort of information in it, okay? Let's leave it at that. But out of that, we have 2 intelligent creatures, intelligent being people or creatures that can speak and talk and process information in terms of language. They have data processing capabilities. Those are the angels and men. Okay, so right in heaven itself, God created angels, and then the races of angels, there's many, and then he created these races of man-like beings. They are not exactly mankind like us, but they're very similar to us. They're called the sons of God. Sons of God were flesh, angels are spirit. And no, I'm not going to go into arguments that the sons of God are angels, as that I've already discussed in many videos, so I'll leave it at that. Okay, and then after he created the sons of God, who were corporeal, for corporeal creatures need a terrestrial body to dwell on, and not a celestial body like the city of heaven or even the heavens above us, okay? They need a terrestrial body. Look behind me there. See mountains, waters, trees, grasses, etc. This is a terrestrial world. Terrestrial world, and in this terrestrial world it is designed and created for terrestrial creatures, okay? And therefore this was never meant for man or for angels, for spirit creatures. So this was always meant for corporeal inhabitants. Corporeal means creatures of flesh that have a body, and those first, long before our race, which is the race of man or the race of Adam, came into existence, there existed the sons of God, who are also flesh, and they were the first inhabitants of the earth. So this is the first age of creation. It's the age of creation. It's the age of God, in which He created the heaven, He created the earth, and He stretched out the heavens. I don't know if you can see that behind me there when this light shines on the camera. The sun is shining behind me. So these are heavenly bodies. So He created all that. Okay, not all together, in sequence. First the heaven, then the inhabitants, the angels, sons of God, then the earth, and then these heavenly bodies. That's what the Bible teaches, okay? And so after some point in time, maybe thousands, tens of thousands, millions of years later, something happened that these creatures, some of them started to turn into evil, okay? Be led by this person called the anointed cherub, whose story is told in Ezekiel 38. So thus begins the second age of creation, which you could call it is the age of the evil of the angels. Not all angels, but the angels that sinned against God. Okay, so that's the second age. At some point in time after the second age came to an end, in this second age, the angels were not only the evil creatures. Some of these sons of God, who later came to be known as the gods of the people of mythology, like Zeus and Apollo and Poseidon in Greece, or Thor and Odin in the Norse countries, or Rama and Krishna and Vishnu and Shiva in India and in the Chinese cultures, So some of these sons of God who are very much corporeal, flesh creatures of flesh, they were later worshipped as God. So that beginning of evil began with the angels, but later is spread from above in the heavenly realms down to the earth. And some of these sons of God who had built some magnificent, fantastic worlds, from which we get some of these myths and legends of places like Atlantis, they began to turn to evil themselves, okay? So these sons of God, like who became the gods of mythology, like Zeus, for example, later on, they were partnering with the angels in this second age of creation, which is the first stage of evil. So it is the age of the evil of the angels and of some of these sons of God. At some point in time in that age, which could have lasted, I have no idea, much longer than the age of man here in this present time, okay? So they were, spreading evil throughout the heavens and on the earth, primarily through the creation of money. Okay, buying and selling and merchandising and trading, like you see in the Star Wars movies. The story of Star Wars is a fictionalized form of this real story of this evil of the angels, who were first responsible for creation of money and merchant banking and buying and selling. So Star Wars actually begins with trade wars. Okay, people don't know that. That's the background to these Star Wars, as they're called. And star being symbolic of angels, it calls, you could say angel wars. And these things that did happen in the past. And these wars that actually occurred eventually involved these angels fighting these sons of God. Okay? And these sons of God, the most famous of these sons of God in the Bible, in Greek mythology, it would be somebody like Zeus. In Hindi mythology, it would be somebody like Shiva. In Norse mythology, it could be like an Odin. But in the Bible, it is Lucifer. Okay? Now, Lucifer himself may not necessarily have been directly involved in these wars, or he might have been. Okay? That we do not know. I'm just piecing this story together from the Bible with some speculation in it. Okay? But it's reasoned speculation. So, after these wars, these angels were defeated and they were locked away in this place called hell. So it is obvious that hell itself, which God, when He began His creation and everything was wonderful and perfect, hell was not a place that He created. But at some point in time, what we're looking at this earth here, okay, you can see under my feet there exist worlds. In those mountains, there are probably some creatures that inhabit it to this very day, okay? And they are inhabited by far greater number of creatures than we have on the surface. Most of the living beings on this earth, they're not on the surface. They are in these waters. Last, when I posted that video just now about the cryptids, there's this myth of this Ogopogo monster, which is like the Loch Ness monster that lives in this lake. These stories are everywhere because these creatures exist, okay? So they exist, when these creatures came into existence and these worlds that they built underground, the earth is like a building, okay? Like when you go to a downtown area in a city, you'll see a high-rise building which may have 10, 20, 50 stories. That's how the earth is. The earth has stories. There are stories inside the earth. There are also stories in the heavens, the Bible tells us, okay? And each one of these stories is maybe accessible from the story below and the one above, or it may not be. They are all self-contained parts to which are inhabited, okay? Inhabited by different creatures, even maybe by giants and trolls. And this story here in these mountains of the Sasquatch, Bigfoot, etc. I'm just getting a little sidetracked. But all that happened in these ages that came before the age of man. All in that time, okay? So when the angels were defeated, they were cast down, they were locked away in hell. Of course, all of this happening to serve God's purpose, because God needed evil to come into existence and evil to become and grow till it became absolute. And it became absolute in Satan. Satan is a creature that, in my opinion, was not created by God, but he was created, manufactured, factory, laboratory, genetic, whatever, however, manipulation they did in these ages that came before, in the age of evil. These angels and probably these sons of God, these Luciferians, they worked together to create these many races of these creatures that were like weaponry. Okay, and we see this here even in movies and shows, you know, like in Battlestar Galactica, which is a very famous show. And they had these machines, which it turns out that they were actually living machines. They were organic. Okay, they were what we call organic creatures. So, you know, like, I mean, this idea that, you know, organic machines like Satan, who was a serpentine dragon, which is kind of like that Lake Ogopogo monster behind me here, that, you know, they have existed or they can be created, is not far-fetched, okay? Because the Bible tells us, you know, that these people invent evil things all the time. And, you know, you can have evil creatures, evil machines, because Satan is like a machine, okay? He does not have, he is not like a person, okay? He is purely evil. And he is like a robotic machine who only knows how to do evil, like we see in some of these movies again. So they were manufactured in that time to be used as weapons, because, you know, these wars that these angels eventually fought with between themselves, between the sons of God, they were also involved, of course. Their goal was not anything to do with coming down to earth and having sex with them, a stupid story. It was that they wanted to ascend up into heaven, go there and conquer the throne of God. So they were creating all these machines, some of them living, like these reptilians, these serpentine dragons, which are like, you know, could be gigantic in size with great deal of firepower. Dragons, you know, they breathe fire, right? And we read about this in also in the book of Revelation, the fire comes out of their mouth. Okay, so that's fire, that's weaponry. So they were created as weapons to destroy. And ultimately, God, of course, none of this was a surprise to him. He had known that this was going to happen. He needed it to happen, because evil serves the purpose for God, which I have covered in many of my videos. You can go and watch them, why evil, okay? So eventually, evil turns against each other. So in the beginning, these sons of God and these angels were partners, and eventually they turned upon each other. And same thing with these machines, these evil creatures that they created, these satanic creatures, and Satan himself, who is the head of all those, okay, the head dragon, and which is the most powerful machine, because I would like to call him a machine, okay, a living machine, an organic machine, whatever you want to call him. But he had, what he operated on was evil. Okay, his operations were only controlled by evil. And where did that evil come into him from? Because we are told that he was a murderer from the beginning. And obviously God didn't create anybody that was a murderer from the beginning. That evil beside him came from the evil of the angels and of those Luciferian sons of God. All that evil that they had inside them, the malice, the wickedness, the sinfulness, it was all inputted into this race of these dragon serpents. Okay, the story of the serpent is what I want to try to get to, because this age, which I divided in my previous videos, I've always said that there was the age of creation, the age of the angels, and the age of these Luciferian sons of God led by Lucifer, and then Satan is only become active in this age. That I now am going to revise that. And this is what the Bible talks about: meditation, about thinking about Scripture, thinking about, your mind going all the time. I've been studying this topic for 30 years, and only now, as I'm doing this teaching, do I come to understand that the age that ended right before Genesis chapter 1 verse 2, where it tells us that the earth was without form and void, that means it was a ruined wasteland, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. What I learned from it is that I have always said that that flood that occurred at that time was caused by Lucifer. It's just generally even taught as Lucifer's flood. However, I'm going to revise that now, because there is something that we have an evidence of so much across the world, which is the evidence of serpent worship, of Satan worship. It doesn't begin at this time. The serpent has existed on this earth for a very long time, and his temples, they are found all over the earth. This idea came to me when I was listening to this podcast by an Indian man, who was being interviewed. His name is Praveen Mohan. I'll put a link in the description. He's like an Indian Indiana Jones. Okay, so he goes around India and around the world, especially Indian temples. And when he was talking, he said something which really, my mind just went, wow, this makes so much sense. He said that what's common in all cultures across the world, the most common symbol that is found everywhere in all of the temples, whether they are in Peru or in South America, in Colombia, Mexico, or even in North America, in Europe, in Asia, it is the serpent. That these temples that are in India, some of which are impossible, that they could have been built even in the time of Noah, they predate that. What you see in there is serpents everywhere. So then I came to understand, okay, that this age, this flood, is not the flood of Lucifer, it is the flood of Satan. Okay? What happened in that second age of evil, the first one being the age of the angels, they are cast down, they're locked away. Begins the second, the sons of God take over. They are the head honchos of evil now, and they have this Satan and his serpent creatures. And serpent we think of as snakes. That is not. You want to really look what a serpentine creature looks like. You should watch that show called Babylon 5. And that there is this creature called Shakar or something, I forget his name. That is a serpent man, you could call. In India, they have stories of these Nagas. Okay, Nagas are serpent people. And this is what this Praveen Mohan was talking about the Nagas, the serpent people. That's about this talk about the serpents came about. And he said, yeah, that's what's common across the world is the serpent. And I said, yes, that makes sense. Because the age that ended, the previous age, it ended with the destruction of Satan, at least as a bodily creature, as a corporeal creature, because he did exist as a living organic creature. Whether you want to call it a machine or a creature, it doesn't matter. But just like in the first stage of evil into the second, the angels were cast down and then Lucifer took over. So this age, the second age of evil, which is called the Bronze Age, which was the age of these evil sons of God, it does not end with the casting down of Lucifer. Oh, how art thou fallen, O Lucifer, son of the morning. Okay, very famous passage from Isaiah 14. I always thought that Lucifer, as he was ascending up into heaven, he was thrown down, he kind of broke the firmament, the flood came, and all that happened in his time. But no, the Bible doesn't say that. The Bible says nothing about a flood at the time of Lucifer. The Bible talks about Lucifer being cast down and thrown into the pit. Okay, no flood, nothing like that. Okay, that he is being judged. So then it clicked. Okay. So just as the angels gave place to Lucifer, Lucifer gave place to Satan before that evil world came to an end. So I have included a short clip from a video titled Nagas, Powerful Humanoids That Lived Amongst Us. Praveen Mohan explains. Okay, so this video, I'll put a link to that in the description. You can watch the whole thing. I don't want to include too long a clip, because they give you copyright strikes and all that. But basically, this person's conclusions, I don't agree with all of them, such as, that these are some kind of alien species and all that. But nonetheless, what it shows clearly is that the serpent, the so-called Nagas, they are found everywhere in this world. That the greatest evidence of worship around the world, other than the sun, is snakes, serpents. They are worshipped in every culture, in every part of the world, which proves to me that the age which came right before Adam and Eve was that the age of the serpent. It wasn't the age of the angels or the Luciferians. It was that of the serpent, Satan, dragon. Okay, and which is then, it's not surprising that we find the serpent dragon, Satan, in the Garden of Eden, and it is this creature that tempted Eve and Adam in that garden. Okay, so this is just a brief introduction to the ages of Bible, ages of history of creation in the Bible. There is much, much more that, of course, a lot of it has been included and expounded on in many history videos that I have on my channel, and I keep adding to it from time to time.
We all know Nagas. Most Hindus know Nagas. It's the word we use for snake. Yeah, so you have this Naga culture. Of course, you can see this in Mayans. You can see this in South America. Then you can in Israel. Nagas are called Nakash. Basically the same terminology. And you know this, right? Snakes are called serpents in the Bible. They're called serpents. And Jews called it seraph. And Hindus call it sarpa. This is still the word we use in South. We call it sarpam, meaning naga. So it's not just that we all worship the Nagas, but it's even the names are similar. Nagas are called Nakash, and Sarpas are called serpents or seraphs in all over the world. So if you look at the entire world and if you look at all the ancient civilizations, they will tell you one story.
It's a common story.
Very, very similar common story.
Okay.
That humans, the very first rulers, came from Naga.
So again, this person doesn't understand the Bible, or he doesn't believe in it, so he doesn't make the connection. But the Bible clearly tells us that the God of this world is Satan, who's the serpent dragon. And this power he received from Adam. When Adam gave him authority, that which God had given to Adam, the authority over the dominion over the earth, and he gave it over to Satan. And therefore Satan became the ruler of this world. So therefore, as this person correctly concludes that the first rulers of these different cultures, were serpents, then it is true, because the God of this world is not of creation, not the creator, but the God of this world that runs this world is a serpent dragon.
You are my teacher who gave me sight and called me from the darkness to live my life anew. You are my Lord, you are my King.